A warm welcome to Wednesday, the 7th of August, everyone. This is your Frontier Opening Bell. I am Bosin Namafai, and this is just a summary of your trading day across Frontier Africa for Tuesday, the second day of the current week. The Nigerian market was down 0.67%, led in the main by Boa Cement, the cement's second largest cement producer in the country. A very sharp decline, 10% on that. That heavy decline moderated, however, was moderated by the banks in terms of the numbers that we saw on some of the big banks that are currently on the market doing public offer, right offer, and all of that within the 2-year recapitalization program. We got a news yesterday from the Central Bank of Nigeria saying it's providing and accommodating funding of 700 billion naira for the merger being proposed between Unity Bank, which is a listed and publicly trading bank, and Providus Bank Limited, which is a non-public institution. It's the latest news we got overnight from the financial regulator. It's the first of such merger announcement, and of course, providing financial accommodation to move on that corporate wedlock under the Cardoso's administration at the helm of affairs at the central bank. In Cote d'Ivoire, the BRVN was better by 0.5%. The Egyptian stock market came back strongly, 1.33% on the EGX, above 28,000 level. And of course, the NSE in Nairobi turned positive by nearly 1%. And the GSE remained in the red, 0.2%, in negative 73,430. That's the all-share index. Take it away. Let me just take a quick look at the East Africa. Of course, we got news yesterday. And of course, this morning, Dr. Kamal Tujiri, central bank governor for Kenya, provided some facts behind the decision to cut interest rate to 12.75%, the first time in 7 years by Kenya, as we saw June inflation in the water. That's some good news on the table for the administration of President Ruto, how this will translate into growing the economy that's been troubled by protests and a few other things, including debt to international creditors, including the IMF and the Eurobond market, is anyone's guess. But we'll see how this will move on. Of course, we got that report out yesterday from RMB Bank in South Africa, saying that Seychelles Islands and Mauritius are the two top investment destinations on the African continent, pushing Nigeria, Kenya out of the top 5. You got a few other countries, Egypt, South Africa, and Morocco are taking the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th position. You can read that up on what makes an economy and investment destination, an attractive one for that matter. The report was formally launched yesterday by RMB in South Africa. And the Simawa Cement in Rwanda says investors are set to receive 13 billion Rwandan francs as interim dividend from the cement giant. In the meantime, Rwanda's industrial output was up 4.6%. Trade deficit, however, was roughly 31% at the end of the first half of the year. That was June. And MTN Uganda, which is listed on the Uganda Stock Exchange, reporting a net profit growth of roughly 30% to about 295 billion shillings in the first half of the year. Those are your numbers and the headlines from East Africa. Let's check in with West Africa. And of course, you know, Nigeria's story overnight, the central bank announcing an financial accommodation of 700 billion naira to support the planned merger between Unity Bank PLC and Providus Bank Limited on the other. The Nigerian week is looking a little bit like this, with protests costing hundreds of billions of naira in some parts of the country. Today, we expect the central bank to sell about 220 billion in dated treasury bills at its weekly NTB auction. Then you have the retail Dutch auction system, or for the FX, that the central bank says will be done this week. We're waiting for further clarity on that. And of course, we've got earnings as well. Just to piggyback a bit, we got news also this morning that the Central Bank of Ethiopia is conducting a special foreign exchange auction with all the banks. Bids are to be submitted today, no later than 12 o'clock in the afternoon, Ethiopian East African time. That is the first major FX auction being conducted by the central bank or in Addis Ababa since the flotation of the currency just about a week ago. We've seen the birr decline sharply against the dollar on the back of that flotation. The Prime Minister Ahmed Abiy asking all the banks and everyone to behave themselves and ensure that the market is transparent and there's liquidity in the market. So the special FX auction is coming in today. Come back to West Africa, where Togo is getting $26 million in grant from the AFDB headquartered in Cote d'Ivoire for key agriculture sectors in the West African economy, while Ghana's debt struggles is continuing despite the restructuring that we saw recently with international creditors, both multilaterals as well as commercial creditors. That's the Eurobond, that is. That's according to Fitch, by the way. So let's just take that off and look at Southern Africa. And that report from RMB yesterday was quite on the street. You want to look that up. And Saudi Arabia's Zahid Group is looking to buy South Africa's industry giant Ballowworld. It's going to be big news. But let's see how that goes. Ballowworld on the exchange. And banks getting about 80, banks got about 80 million rand. Actually, that's about the fees that the banks collected. As a Pick and Pay raises 4 billion rand through a rights issue that's been further expanded. Quite a whole lot money on the table. And Pick and Pay is the one in the news around that. In Zambia, First Quantum Minerals is bringing in maize from Tanzania just to support its operations, while Zimbabwe is looking to boost its power plant capacity with funding coming from India. The Indians are here, just as the Chinese and others, supporting, funding Zambia, supporting port infrastructure in Tanzania and elsewhere. Keep an eye on the Indians, the Adani Group and the rest. They're all here. South Africa's Nedbank reporting 8% jump in the first half profit for 2024. Those are the numbers out of Southern Africa. Just a quick run through the North Africa's headlines as we get on to the third business and market day of the week. Libya especially shut down its Sharara oil field, which is the country's largest. That's going to impact Libya's target of 2 million barrels per day output. Of course, there have been protests around that particular oil field, and now it's been partially shut down. Egypt and Japan are looking to strengthen ties in human development, green investment, and all that, according to Egypt's finance minister, while the minister, Al-Mashat, has endorsed African a caucus plan to boost trade and reform the financial services industry. And finally, Morocco is looking at its own aeronautical sector, exports within that sector, 16.5%. That was what the numbers look like in the first half. We have an eye on the second quarter and the rest of the year. By the way, Morocco has one of the strongest aeronautical business sector on the African continent. And those are your headlines, everyone. I hope you have a very great Wednesday on Business and Market Street. Bye for now.